welcome. You're watching the NewsHour Agenda. I'm Padmaja Joshi. Today we're talking about somebody who should make us all very, very sad and very, very troubled. Today, let's talk about Bilkis Bano. Bilkis Bano was just 21 years old when she was brutally gang raped, 5 months pregnant, fleeing violence, and with her 3.5-year-old daughter. She saw 7 members of her family being butchered by rioters. Her mother, 3 other women were raped and brutally assaulted in front of her. After the assault, she was left without a thread on her body. She had to borrow clothes and walk to the closest police station. According to the CBI, the heads of the corpses had been severed so that the bodies could not even be identified in an autopsy. The attackers were armed with sickles, swords, and sticks. These men were all convicted for gang rape and murder. And they are among the 11 men who have now been set free on remission. And to add insult to injury, today these rape convicts, these murder convicts, were felicitated by the Vishwa Hindu Parishad. Yesterday it was sweets and tilak which was applied by their family members. Today one of them was garlanded at the VHP office in Dahod. Radhe Shyam Shah, one of the 11 culprits who was released, was feted by the VHP. Shah says that now he is set to make a fresh start. But can Bilkis's family look at any future at all, leave alone a fresh start?
मैं 14 वर्ष ઉપરની સજા પૂરી કરી હોય અને 18 વર્ષ થયા છતાં નહીં છૂટતા મેં નામદાર સુપ્રીમ કોર્ટમાં એક અરજી કરી હતી. એ અરજીના અનુસંધાને સુપ્રીમ કોર્ટે રાજ્ય સરકારને નિર્ણય લેવા જણાવતા અમને મુક્ત કરવામાં આવ્યા છે. અને મુક્ત થયા પછી મને બહુ ખુશી થાય છે. આજે હું મારા પરિવારના સભ્યોને મળીશ અને નવી જિંદગીની શરૂઆત કરીશ. અને મને જે મેં બી આમાં મદદ કરી છે, મારા પરિવારને સહકાર આપ્યો છે, તે બદલ હું બધાનો ધન્યવાદ કરું છું. શું
ખબર સાંભળવાથી અમને એટલું બધું દુઃખ અને એક માયુસ થઈ ગયા છે કે અમે આટલા લાંબા સમયથી લડાઈ લડી એનો આ નતીજો છે. એટલે અમને બહુ દુઃખ અને ડર જે ઓછો હતો એ આજે વધી ગયો છે. સરકાર તરફથી જે સહાય કરવામાં આવી છે, 50 લાખ રૂપિયાની જે સહાય છે અમને ચૂકવી દેવામાં આવી છે. અને સરકાર સુપ્રીમ કોર્ટે જે સરકારને આદેશ કર્યો છે કે એક મકાન એમને આપવું જોઈએ અને નોકરી આપવી જોઈએ, એના વિશે હજુ કોઈ નિર્ણય નથી થયો.
In its defense, the BJP government in Gujarat has said that they have only followed rules and the remission was given after instructions from the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court had asked the state government to take a view on the case after the convicts approached it, saying that we have served over 15 years of jail. Some of them even pleaded about how they are suffering from poor health and old age. But this reasoning is hollow, because the same remission policy was invalidated almost a decade ago. Has the state now made use of a loophole in order to set these rape and murder convicts free?
This is an executive decision, not a judicial decision. गुजरात सरकार के अनुसार रिहाई का निर्णय 1992 की जो क्षमादान की नीति है और रिहाई की नीति है, रेमिशन की जो नीति है, उसके आधार पर लिया गया. 1992 की नीति आपको वेबसाइट पर नहीं मिलती. आरटीआई के सेक्शन 4 के अनुसार ये तमाम नीतियां वेबसाइट पे होनी चाहिए. क्यों नहीं है? इसलिए नहीं है. यह नीति, जिस नीति के पीछे छिपकर गुजरात सरकार कह रही है हमने इन 11 बलात्कारियों को रिहाई का आदेश दिया, 1992 की वो नीति 8 मई 2013 को गुजरात सरकार द्वारा समाप्त कर दी गई थी. तो ऐसी नीति जो है ही नहीं, उस नीति के आधार पर आप 11 बलात्कारियों को, 11 हत्यारों को क्षमादान दे देते हैं और रिहाई कर देते हैं.
सीआरपीसी 268 268 में ऐसी जोगवाई है कि कोई उम्र कैद की सजा हो जो कैदी को, वो कैदी की अगर चाल चल तो अच्छी हो, वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जा सकता है. और वो 268 सीआरपीसी के नीचे सुप्रीम कोर्ट गुजरात गवर्नमेंट को या कोई भी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को उसका रिव्यू लेने के लिए अभिप्राय मांग सकती है. क्योंकि अगर अच्छा एटीट्यूड है, अच्छा उसका वर्तन है, तो गुजरात गवर्नमेंट ये को पावर है कि वो रिव्यू दे. उसको माफीनामा दे। 268 सीआरपीसी ऐसी चीज है कि जो सिर्फ सरकार को ही पावर है, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को, इसमें कोर्ट बीच में नहीं आती। कोर्ट सिर्फ रिव्यू मंगा सकती है सीआरपीसी 268 का।
So today the Gujarat government must answer this. Why has this exceptional clemency been shown to a man or to men who have engaged in exceptional cruelty? This may be technically a legal provision that these men can avail of, but do they deserve it? Especially when Bilkis and her family had made it clear at trial stage that they fear a threat to their life if these men remain at large. Today, they are walking amongst us. Can this remission be granted under a provision that doesn't even exist anymore? And can the government, now that it has set these men free, guarantee the safety of Bilkis and her family? Will these men be sent back behind bars, and will this remission be cancelled?
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
All right, joining us, Namit Saxena, advocate on record in the Supreme Court, Sanjay Hegde, senior advocate, Rizwan Ahmed, lawyer, Yogita Bhayana, activist. But first I want to ask the national spokesperson of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, Vinod Bansal. Mr. Bansal, क्या आपको सच में लगता है that these men deserve to be felicitated? दाहोद में आपके ऑफिस में इनको माला पहनाई गई, इन लोगों को जिनके ऊपर गैंग रेप का इल्जाम नहीं है, ये कॉन्विक्ट हैं, ये मर्डर के कॉन्विक्ट हैं, इन्होंने हत्या की है, इनको किस बात के लिए माला पहनाई जा रही है?
देखिए, सबसे पहले तो ये कि विश्व हिंदू परिषद के ऑफिस में माला पहनाई गई है, मुझे तो लगता नहीं कहीं आपके पास कहां से खबर आई है, गलत है लगता मेरे को।
सर, तस्वीरें आपके सामने,
अगर कोई कॉन्विक्ट
आपके दाहोद के ऑफिस में माला पहनाई गई, ये तस्वीर आपके सामने है, अगर आप टीवी देख सकते हैं।
जी जी, नहीं, मैं कह रहा हूं कि वो हो सकता है आपके पास कुछ प्रूफ हो, मैं नहीं कह सकता, इसको मुझे वेरीफाई करना पड़ेगा। लेकिन कुल मिला के मैं ये कह रहा हूं, देखिए कि मैं उस विषय में नहीं जाना चाहता। मेरा कहना ये है कि अगर कोई कन्विक्ट हुआ, कन्विक्शन हो गया, उसकी सजा हो गई,
पहले क्लियर करें।
और अब वो
इस
सजा
आदमी का नाम है अरविंद सिसोदिया, ये विश्व हिंदू परिषद का दाहोद में अध्यक्ष है। पहली बात तो आप कहिए कि आप इनको निकालेंगे। अगर आप इस बात से अग्री नहीं करते कि एक बलात्कारी को, एक गैंग रेपिस्ट को और एक मर्डरर को इस तरीके से फेलिसिटेट किया जा रहा है, तो पहले तो आप कहिए कि आप इनके खिलाफ एक्शन लेंगे।
नहीं, देखिए, मुझे एक बात बताइए पद्मजा जी कि अगर कोई व्यक्ति जिसने कोई अपराध किया और अपराध की सजा न्यायालय ने दे दी और सर्वोच्च न्यायालय ने उसको बरी कर दिया, बरी करने के बाद बरी इन द सेंस कि उसको सजा मुक्त हो गया, सजा
किसी को बरी नहीं किया है। मैं उस लीगल पॉइंट में अभी थोड़ी देर पे आऊंगी, पहले आप मेरे को बस ये बता दीजिए लीगल पॉइंट, क्योंकि हम उसमें फंस करके रह जाएंगे। ये मैं बात पहले क्लियर कर दूं, इस आदमी को किसी चीज से बरी नहीं किया गया है। आप मेरे को मॉरली बताइए, मॉरली क्या इन लोगों को हमारे बीच होना चाहिए? मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल देती हूं सर। अमंग द पीपल हु हैव बीन रिलीज्ड इज अ मैन कॉल्ड शैलेश भट्ट। उनकी कल की रिलीज की तस्वीरें दिखाते हैं, 11 जो आदमी साइड बाय साइड खड़े हैं। वी शुड बी ashamed that these men are standing amidst us. Of the 11 men who have been freed is a man called Shailesh Bhatt, who has been given the benefit of doubt. Do you know what he is convicted of? This man took a 3.5-year-old child called Saleha from Bilkis's arms and smashed her to the ground. उसने एक 3.5 साल के बच्ची को उसकी मां से छीन के जमीन पे पटक के मार दिया। उसको बेनिफिट ऑफ डाउट देंगे हम? फॉर व्हाट? फॉर व्हाट विनोद बंसल जी?
मैं बोलूं पद्मजा?
बोलिए
पद्मजा जी, मैं बोलूं क्या? देखिए, मैं बड़े विनम्रता से कह रहा हूं आपको कि सबसे पहले तो आरोप लगाने से पहले व्यक्ति को सुनना चाहिए। पहले मैं कहता हूं कि विश्व हिंदू परिषद को अगर कोई मोरल दे रहा है तो मैं उसका स्वागत तो करता हूं, लेकिन आपके दर्शक अच्छी तरह से जानता है कि विश्व हिंदू परिषद वो संगठन है जो महिलाओं की और देश विरोध, महिलाओं की इज्जत के साथ साथ खिलवाड़ करने उनके साथ खिलवाड़ करने वालों को आंखों में आंखें डाल के नहीं, उसकी आंखें फोड़ना जानता है अच्छी तरह से। और हम जो है वो हमें कोई मोरल सिखाने की आवश्यकता नहीं है
सर। मोरल की बात
लेकिन मैं एक बात पूछना चाहता हूं,
पूछ रही हूँ,
क्या आखिरकार ये जहां पर आप
शैलेश भट्ट को क्या जेल के सलाखों के पीछे होना चाहिए या जेल के बाहर होना चाहिए? आपका स्टैंड क्या है, आप बस इतना बता दीजिए।
देखिए जो अपराध, देखिए मेरे स्टैंड को सुनेंगे तभी तो बता पाऊंगा मैं कहता हूं देखिए जो अपराधी है उसको उसकी सजा मिलनी चाहिए, और जो ये 11 लोग हैं, ये 11 लोगों को सजा मिली है। सजा मिलने के बाद ही तो माननीय सर्वोच्च न्यायालय ने कहा है कि अब सरकार चाहे तो इनको छोड़ सकती है, और ये प्रक्रिया के चाहे को पहली बार नहीं हुआ, अनेक मुसलमानों को भी छोड़ा गया है। और जब ये 15 अगस्त और 26 जनवरी आते हैं तो आमतौर पर ये रेमिशन की प्रथा हर सरकार अपनाती है, और सैकड़ों मुसलमान इसको इस बारे में छोड़े जा चुके, लेकिन उस मुसलमान पर कभी किसी ने कोई डिबेट नहीं करी। मैं कहना चाहता हूं देखिए अपराधी के साथ अपराधी जैसे व्यवहार होना चाहिए।
लेकिन जब संजय हेगड़े क्लियर द पॉइंट, लेट मी मेक वन थिंग क्लियर,
मिल गई तो आपका
ऐसे जघन्य अपराध के लिए अगर कोई भी छोड़ा जाएगा, वो हिंदू हो या वो मुसलमान हो, उस पर डिबेट ही नहीं, उस पर सवाल भी पूछे जाएंगे। आप ये सोचिए सर दैट इफ टुडे दिस केस हैड हैपेंड इन वेस्ट बंगाल, आपको याद होगा कि 2 मई के बाद वेस्ट बंगाल में जब गैंग रेप्स हुए थे, आप सोचिए अगर 1 साल बाद वो लोग जिनका ऊपर ट्रायल चल रहा है उनको छोड़ा जाए और उनके गले में माला पहनाई जाए और उनको तिलक लगाया जाए, जिनके ऊपर गैंग रेप के आरोप हैं, आप ये नहीं कहेंगे? आपको सही लगेगा कि कोई कहे कह रहे उनको बेनिफिट ऑफ डाउट देके रिमिशन पॉलिसी के तहत उनको छोड़ दिया गया। आज से 15 साल बाद भी आप वही बेनिफिट ऑफ डाउट उन लोगों को देंगे कि उन्होंने 15 साल कर लिए जेल में, चलो छोड़ दो?
नहीं, बिल्कुल नहीं, कोई बेनिफिट ऑफ डाउट नहीं दिया सरकार, कोर्ट ने, ना कोर्ट ने दिया ना सरकार ने दिया, बेनिफिट ऑफ डाउट नहीं दिया। वो तो सजा याफ्ता लोग हैं। सजा प्राप्त करने के बाद माननीय सर्वोच्च न्यायालय ने कहा है कि इनकी सजा, चूंकि इनका चरित्र ऐसा है कि जिन्होंने कोर्ट अपने ड्यूरिंग दी टेन्योर ऑफ दी जेल, इन्होंने जो जेल की सजा काटी है, उस हिसाब से लग रहा है कि इनका व्यवहार और उनकी शारीरिक स्थिति ऐसी है जिनको रेमिशन दिया जा सकता है। सरकार चाहे तो इसे विचार करे।
तो बंसल जी, आपको लगता है उस आदमी का चरित्र इस लायक है जो एक 3.5 साल की बच्ची की हत्या कर दे और उसकी मां का गैंग रेप करे? अगर 15 साल बाद वो जेल में बैठ करके कैरम खेल रहा है तो उसको अच्छे व्यवहार के आधार पर छोड़ दिया जाना चाहिए क्योंकि उसका चरित्र अच्छा है? क्योंकि 15 साल में उसने यही क्राइम दोबारा नहीं किया और वो बहुत सौम्य व्यवहार का है, तो उसको अच्छे चरित्र के बिना पर छोड़ दिया जाना चाहिए? क्या है उस आदमी का चरित्र जिसने एक 3 साल की बच्ची की हत्या की?
आप है ना मैं हूं? नहीं, वो डिसाइड, देखिए वो डिसाइड नहीं पद्मजा, मैं कहता हूं देखिए जो हत्यारा है उसको सजा मिलनी चाहिए, मैं बार बार कह रहा हूं आपको, लेकिन उसको डिसाइड करने का काम ना आप करेंगे ना मैं करेंगे ना आपको कोई और पेनलिस्ट करेगा।
ओके, सो लेट्स क्लैरिफाई दिस विद संजय हेगड़े। संजय हेगड़े,
साधारण मामला नहीं है।
द आर्गुमेंट लीगली है
रेमिशन दिया है कि उसमें अगर कोई आदमी इसको ऑब्जेक्शन करता है तो मुझे लगता है ये गलत है।
ठीक है, तो उनमें एक 70 साल के आदमी थे, वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट के पास गए, उन्होंने देखिए मेरी बहुत फेलिंग हेल्थ है, मैं बहुत बूढ़ा हूं, बीमार हूं, मैं बहुत सफर कर चुका हूं, मैंने 15-15.5 साल आई हैव स्पेंट बिहाइंड बार्स, show me some leniency. The Supreme Court told the Gujarat government, you decide on a case-to-case basis, and the government has just gone by the rule of law. What's the problem? Sanjay Hegde.
Well, there are some problems, and Mr. Bansal also has a few points to make. Basically, the law is this, that when the court sentences somebody to life imprisonment, it means for the rest of your life. However, that is subject to the government's power of exercising remission, subject, however, to the fact that he must have at least completed 14 years. It's not that 14 years is a life sentence. After 14 years, even if you have a life sentence, you may avail the benefit of remission, provided you fit in within the policy. Now, here it does appear that the government of Gujarat has a specific policy of not releasing people who have been accused of rape. They seem to have deviated from the policy and gone back to an old policy which they themselves had abandoned. If the government of Gujarat today says that, look, everybody who was accused of rape, who is served and who got a life sentence and who has served 15 years, I'm releasing them all, that is one thing. But on the other hand, if they've been selective, that look, this one particular case, these people, one of the accused has got an order from prison, therefore we'll consider them under an old policy and not under the current policy, then there is a definite problem. there is the executive power of remission, but that power must be on cogent grounds and it must be applied even-handedly. If they have a policy saying that there is no release for rapists or a life sentence for somebody who is accused of rape and murder will remain a life sentence, then they can't deviate from the policy. They are bound by their stated policy.
So the Gujarat government's argument, Namit Saxena, seems to be full of holes at present. First of all, we cannot understand which is the policy they have gone by. The 1992 policy or the 2014 policy?
See, I must, at the first instance, I must clear this, that remission is not in form of a charity or compassion. Remission rather is in form of a legal duty which is to be discharged by the executive or by the state government, and in form of a right of remission to the accused. The sole restriction on right to remission is a statutory restriction under section 433A CRPC, which is in form of a negative covenant which says that only after 14 years a particular accused who is a life convict will be eligible to get remission. Now, remission is again not, that the state government, that whimsically releases somebody. There is a procedure lays down, and it is important. Why? Because prisons is a state subject under Schedule 7 of the Constitution. So a state government has a right over prisons. Now, under the Prisons Act as well as prisons rules as well as prisons manual, leave apart the 1992 policy or the 2014 policy. They are both not available in public domain. But even prison rules and the Gujarat Prisons Manual, it says so that there has to be a sentence review board. The sentence review board gives its finding.
We've explained that entire background.
Goes to the IG
I will
prisons.
ask you a very layman question. What are the factors that decide whether a convict can get remission or not? Because the courts are very clear. Everything will be taken on a case-by-case basis. You are on the prison review board. How did you decide that these 11 men can be granted remission? They deserve it. What are the factors? Please name those factors.
See, there are variety of factors that are to be considered, including good conduct, including what is the work you have undertaken while you were in custody. What is, have you studied anything? What has been your general conduct? How much you have, how much work you have done? Because these are all rigorous imprisonments.
Men are
how much
gang rapists and murderers. Is 14 years of, gardening in jail supposed to make up for it?
See, the law does not make a difference between. See, the law does not make a difference between gang rapists or any other person accused. The law goes by the sentence
Sanjay Hegde,
given.
quick
That is why
rebuttal
the
on that.
sentence review board
Isn't there a distinction made about the gravity of crime? What are you saying, sir? You cannot treat a pickpocket and a rapist the same way.
One of the factors for considering release.
No, what I'm saying is that there is no separate category for gang rapists.
No, just 1 minute, Namit, please. Will the released person be a threat to society? That is also one of the factors to be taken into account.
Exactly.
I have appeared in several cases in UP where the UP government consistently says 20 years, but he is a gangster, he has done this in the past, and at this age also if he is released, he can be a threat. So the policy can't totally say that we will not examine what the possible impact on society is to be. Yes, their policy provides for all the things that you've done inside prison, including maybe you have donated blood on some day, therefore you will get 6 months, etc., etc. All those things all given. But what will be the impact on society? Can you be a threat in future? That is definitely taken into account.
And keep in mind, I think everyone wants to come in now. First Yogita Bhayana, then Rizwan Ahmed. Keep in mind that these men were accused of threatening witnesses at the time when the trial was on. The family has said explicitly, so much so that the case was transferred out of the state of Gujarat. Such was the level of threat that they posed to this family. Now they are out. Imagine the men who killed your family in front of you could come knocking on your door any moment. Who is to guarantee the safety of this family? Why isn't anyone considering that? Yogita Bhayana.
I don't understand, Padmaja, that this such a heinous crime of the history, you know, where history will never forget, and you are releasing them, not anybody else. These targeted men are released. Do you think it is not going to motivate further rapists? It is going to set a very, very, very wrong example for people who think that you know, it will motivate the rapists. So you really, I'm 100% sure it is motivated gesture, because you could not think of anybody else who wait for years and years to pay the bail amount and they just die in the jails. They don't think about their remission. They're only thinking about rapists who cannot be reformed. They are monsters. They are beyond it. Like, we were looking forward for capital punishment. If we did not get for these guilty criminals, okay, life imprisonment, die in the jail, and they deserve to die in the jail, because, and the kind of welcome they are getting, Mr. Bansal is still not sure about whether VHP also welcomed them or not, but at least he can say that, you know, even if at all there is an iota of doubt, I will take action against these men. I mean, what kind of example are we setting? Why are we targeting Muslim women? Why silly bully? Why only when it comes to Muslim women you are you are being partial?
Never.
I mean, I want to see in India where every woman is safe, Hindu, Muslim, irrespective of who particularly spoken about Muslim women. If it was
देखिए, प्रत्येक नारी मेरे लिए पूजनी है। कैसी बात कर रहे हो?
प्रत्येक नारी, आप झूठ बोल रहे हैं। आप झूठ बोल रहे हैं। आपने भी खुद बोला कि मुस्लिम भी छूटते हैं। आप गलत, आपका एक्शन नहीं दिखता है। You are targeting Muslim women. सिंपल है, सिंपल है, चाहे वो विक्टिम ही क्यों ना हो, आपको
मुस्लिम छोड़ जाते हैं, ये मैं कह रहा हूँ, लेकिन किसी मुस्लिम नारी पर आक्रमण करने वाला कोई हिंदू नहीं हो सकता। आप गलत बोल रहे हैं। आप जिस तरह की भाषा का प्रयोग कर रहे हैं, बिल्कुल गलत कर रहे हैं। नहीं, माला किसने पहनाई आपको? क्या करते हैं? अरे मैं कहता हूँ, माला किसने पहनाई? अगर कोई नहीं, किसी रेपिस्ट को नहीं, ना गलत बात बोल रहे हैं।
I will give you the following example.
मुस्लिम वोमेन की नहीं है। मुस्लिम वोमेन को सबसे ज्यादा टॉर्चर करने वाला मुस्लिम नहीं है।
Rizwan Ahmed also has questions to ask of you, Mr. Bansal. Rizwan Ahmed.
मुसलमानों को तो वैसे भी
सबको छोड़ा जाता है, everyone is treated even handed. Mr.
has to stop. अगर सेंटर ने इसको रिमूव नहीं किया, आप देखिए।
May I?
Yes, go on, Mr. Ahmed.
May I, Padmaja? Yeah, Padmaja, I am all the more appalled by the arguments which I have been hearing from the last 25 minutes. It is a moment that we should hang our head in shame. That's it. Don't tell me the law and the policies who were right now telling me the laws and the policy of humanity. The policy of humanity is above every other policy. Number one. Don't say every gang rapist can be remitted or can be remission for him. This was not even a case of gang rape. It was mass murder. And Mr. Bansal, हम दोनों ने एक साथ टीवी पर बहुत लड़ाइयां लड़ी हैं। आपके आगे हाथ जोड़ रहा हूं, आपका बड़ा सम्मान करता हूं, अगर मगर लेकिन किंतु परंतु खुदा के वास्ते, परमेश्वर के वास्ते, भारत माता के वास्ते आज ना करिए। मुझे ये आपसे उम्मीद नहीं थी बंसल भाई। हम लोग 8 साल एक साथ लड़े हैं जिहादियों से, इन देश के दुश्मनों से। आप जानते हैं इस बात को।
मुझे ये भी उम्मीद है कि आप उन सरकार सेवकों के बारे में बोलोगे। मुझे उम्मीद है कि आप पॉलिसी जुदा करने वालों को भी बोलोगे। जी, मुझे ये भी उम्मीद है कि जो तिरंगे के ऊपर चांद
मुझसे ज्यादा कोई नहीं बोला है। मुझे ना सिखाइए मुझे क्या बोलना है, मुझे ना सिखाइए मुझे क्या बोलना है। आपसे ज्यादा मैंने बोला है, आपसे ज्यादा मैंने बोला है। रिजवान अहमद को ज्ञान ना दीजिए, आपसे ज्यादा मैंने बोला है।
बोलने से क्या होता है?
मिस्टर बंसल, रिजवान अहमद को ज्ञान ना दीजिए।
विश्व हिंदू परिषद
आज आपने अपनी औकात दिखाई है, आज आपने अपनी औकात दिखाई है। समझिए, आपसे ज्यादा मैंने बोला है।
वो आतंकवाद फैलाती है, महिलाओं की इज्जत के साथ खिलवाड़ करती है, और आप
शर्म आनी चाहिए आपको,
शर्म आनी चाहिए आपको।
समझे आप?
अरे शर्म आनी चाहिए आपको,
शर्म आनी चाहिए,
आपको शर्म आनी चाहिए।
इससे ज्यादा
आप फलाना किसी को प्रकार के अंदर जीते हो,
शर्म आनी चाहिए।
बोलते
समझे?
अभी सुप्रीम कोर्ट में कल
please continue. Vinod Bansal ji, you know there are some issues where in civilized society there cannot be any caveats. Zero caveats. There should be, never has been and never will be any caveats when it comes to what society's approach should be to crimes of this kind. Mr. Ahmed, finish your point. Rizwan Ahmed, finish your point, and I'll go back to Namit Saxena. Finish your point.
One thing more. When the crime takes place on a given date, then the punishment has to be from that day only. It cannot be in retrospect. Here we are not talking about crime, we are talking about remission. So the operational part is here not crime but remission. And when it is remission, the day which the law which prevails on this day has to prevail, and we cannot go in retrospect कि 1992 का लॉ 2014 के लॉ को साइडलाइन करके हम 1992 को लॉ को सामने ले आए.
Rizwan Ahmed, give me a second, because there will be a lot of confusion in the minds of people. What you are describing, I want to quickly take a second and with the help of graphics explain to our viewers what exactly it is that Mr. Ahmed is speaking. Now there were two policies. One was in 1992. The Gujarat government right now is arguing that we made use of this 1992 policy. However, the beautiful thing is that this policy has already been invalidated by the Supreme Court in 2012. How did the government in the year 2022 make use of a policy that ceased to exist after 2012? So, one would assume that they would have chosen a policy which came into being in 2014. This 2014 policy came into being after orders of the Supreme Court and instructions from the Apex Court. The beauty of this policy is that it expressly says that there are certain people who will not be given the benefit of remission under the 2014 policy, and that includes those who have been convicted for murder with rape, which means that these people under the 2014 policy do not enjoy the privilege of remission. And leave aside policies. There is a basic human discussion that we are having here. Are we going to keep talking about these little quibbles and these little loopholes? Let me give you an example. We went back to Gujarat, and since people are talking about humane approach, listen to this man called Abdul Quddus. He has been in jail for the last 20 years as well. As much time as these rapists and murderers have spent. He is today asking, Bilkis's rapists got benefit of doubt. They got benefit of a provision. What about me? Listen to him and you will understand why I'm talking about his case.
मैं कैंसर का मरीज हूँ और ये डायबिटीज है और बच्ची के 3 ऑपरेशन हुए और मैं छोड़ा नहीं जाता. मैं बहुत घर से भी परेशान हूँ, तकलीफ में हूँ, कोई धंधा पानी खा नहीं सकता मैं.
आप कितने साल से जेल में हैं? क्या सजा हुआ था?
30 साल आजीवन की सजा लगी थी. आजीवन की सजा लगी और 30 साल से जेल में हूँ.
क्या मामला था? कौन से मामले में आप?
So you possibly could not understand him very well. I'll tell you who he is. He's a man who was convicted for murder. He's been behind bars for 30 years despite the fact that he's suffering from cancer. Why isn't he being shown the clemency and the mercy and the benefits that these 11 men have been shown? And we are still supposed to believe that somehow it is the good conduct. This man is suffering from cancer. He's been in jail for 30 years. But he's a murder convict. He should be in jail. And so should the people who have murdered and butchered Bilkis's family. That is the reason why we're asking, is there any such precedent? Sanjay Hegde, for such clemencies being cancelled and people being sent back. Can remission be cancelled?
Well, if the remission is based on consideration which is not germane, like if you took into account the 92 policy, when there is a different policy which ought to apply, then it could be struck down. There are even the governor's power of pardon in Andhra Pradesh, when it was misused to pardon people, that too the Supreme Court interfered. It was a judgment of Justice Pasayat. So there is no action of the executive which is beyond judicial review. But in the Gujarat government itself can very well reconsider it.
Yeah. And
I don't see why they should wait.
If there is a just face, if there is a face of a state that really believes in mercy and justice, the government should consider this decision, else hope from the courts. I'm going to leave it at that. These are the facts of the case. I'll leave it for you to judge. Thanks very much, all gentlemen. Yogita Bhayana for joining me.